Well, hey there, it's that coding guy here, breaking it down and making it accessible. You want to take your code to the next level as far as professionalism goes? Do you want to be the person other people look around and say, whoa, where did they come from? I've got the technique for you. I call it the polish pass. The polish pass is one last pass reviewing your own work before you create a pull request or as you're creating a pull request or merge request. And by taking a look at these several things, you're going to knock it out of the park. All right? So what is involved in the polish pass? Well, one thing that you want to look for is code styling and code formatting. So, if your braces and things are all indented weird, it's going to make your code harder to understand. Most teams have a formatting style or a default that they stick to, and they recommend everybody on the team use that. If you're working by yourself and you're working on your portfolio stuff, then find one and adopt one. For example, in Java, Google's got a style spec that you can just download and install in your IntelliJ or something like that, and you're off to the races. So just because you're working by yourself doesn't mean you can't institute and stick to something like that. And most IDEs will have a format on save feature that can really help you and help you to be efficient, because every time you save your file, it's like, boop, it's going to change it for you. You don't even really have to think about it. So dig into your IDE and see what is available and check around and see what the standards are for whatever language you're working in. And that can really make it more automatic. So another thing is unused imports, and this is fairly Java or C# specific, I guess. But also in JavaScript, you want to make sure that you're not importing things into the files that you're not going to need. In IntelliJ and Java, that stuff gets grayed out up at the top, and it's really easy to spot. But nonetheless, people still submit code requests with that stuff in there. So there are shortcuts for your IDEs that will help you find and do all of these things for you. And you can usually get it done on the entire project that you're working on with a couple of clicks. Another one is blank lines. I'm a stickler for blank lines. At the end of the file, if we've got a few extra lines before our final curly or something like that, or there's too many lines in between variables or methods, I'm going to call folks out on that and ask them to fix that up. I definitely look for that in my own code. So take out any unnecessary blank lines. Class and file level and method level documentation. If you've added a new class or a service, or you've added a new method to a file, go ahead and make sure that that is documented according to whatever language you're working in, whether it's JavaScript or Java, C#. There are conventions for documenting methods and classes and files and things like that. So make sure that you're following some type of format, and just make sure that you're consistent. That's the big thing. If you're doing it in one place, then make sure you do it everywhere. And when people see that you're putting code documentation on your methods and stuff, yeah. Same with variable naming. Variable naming and method naming, you want to make sure that they provide contextual clues to what's going on. You might want to declare a quick variable as X and set a value to that, but I have no idea what the value means. But if you have a verbose name like number of continents equals 7, I have a pretty good idea of what that 7 is referring to. What X equals 7, I have no idea what actual value that 7 means, So another thing would be creating small reusable methods. If you've created a new method, really take a look at it. Does it need all those parameters? how many things does this thing actually do? If it has several side effects, really consider breaking those side effects out so they're each their own method. Because if I have a method that does 3 things and I want to use it because I need to do one of them, I can only do it when I need to do all 3. So create 3 separate methods, and then if you want to compose those methods into one driver or orchestrator method later, sweet, do that. But you and anybody else can then use those 3 little methods to do those operations whenever they need them. So small reusable methods are also easier to test and will not only make your code easier to reason about, but it will make your life easier on the testing front as well. Commented out code. If you comment out code and it goes into the code base, later on, people are going to come across that, and it may be you, and you're going to wonder, why is this commented out? Did we need that? Should it have been commented out? Is it safe to remove now? Because it's commented out and obviously stuff is working, right? So I could probably just remove it. That seems kind of dicey. What if we need it later? So commented out code is like a ticking time bomb of time and effort that you're just deferring till later. And the later it is, the more time and effort it's going to be to figure it out. So if at all possible, either remove the code or put it into service so that it's not commented out and it's being used. Or if you absolutely have to leave commented out code, put a contextual code comment in there about why this was commented out, at what point should it be uncommented. You will thank yourself later, because trying to figure out commented code is a struggle. Do my tests pass? You wrote tests, right? Double check and make sure one last time before you commit and everything that your test passed. And or did my work break any other tests? Because if I did, that's my responsibility. I need to fix those up. So definitely take a look at those. If your team is worried about code coverage, you're going to want to run some code coverage and make sure the new code that you wrote is adequately covered by tests. And finally, did I make any changes and commit them when I shouldn't have? So your goal, especially as you gain more and more experience as a developer, is to have your commits be as surgical as possible so that we're only changing absolutely as little as we need to make our code work. That will keep our code changes condensed and contained in the area that I'm working in. It can lead to less merge conflicts with others. But if we're going and willy-nilly changing a whole bunch of things and we're testing some stuff over here and, I didn't actually need those changes, but I never reverted it. Well, that's fine, So you definitely want to swing through the code that you wrote and make sure that you absolutely need every change that you made. And there is an easy way to do this. If you're creating a merge request or a pull request, what you can do is, I'm on GitHub right now and I'm just picking a branch to merge into another branch on my repo here, just to illustrate. Whether you're on GitHub or GitLab or whatever, you can see all of the changes that you want to commit for this pull request and this merge. So all of the changes that I added are in green, and anything that is getting removed is in red. So swing through and make sure, this room service info file, I didn't need the changes in that file. Let me go quick into Git and unstage that. Or, even line by line. So that's the polish pass. And I'm sure that, as you go, you'll come up with your own procedure and your own rules and things and your own polish pass. And maybe there's some things that aren't on this list that should be, or maybe you don't need to worry about one of these things. But if you get into this habit and you really care about the work that you are submitting and putting in there, then people will appreciate that. So, and if you are reviewing others' code, then feel free to call these types of things out. And when we do that, we raise the quality of the code all around us. And that's generally better for the team. It's better for the company that we're working for, or whoever is going to inherit this code in the future. So start implementing the polish pass and see where you go. Cheers.